अस्सलामुअलैकुम। मेरा नाम साद बिन शाहिद है और मैं रेहान अकेडमी इस्लामाबाद में पढ़ता हूँ। और हमारा कैंपस का नाम RSFI 8 है। और हमारा आज का टास्क है कॉल विद सी सेम इन द टॉपिक ऑफ बाय बाय। तो शुरू करते हैं। हाय माया, हाउ आर यू टुडे?
Books and moving on rats. I've noticed that when you explore concepts like
Maya,
hello or oh, my bad. Go ahead and finish
Maya
what you were
today,
saying about. I've noticed you don't just. Sorry, what I meant to say was that you approach concepts with systematic rigor. You don't just look for definitions; you construct them from every angle, cultural, emotional, and physical. Much like a teacher preparing to explain them to a student. It's clear you're processing this information both they learn and educate.
Maya tried to is bye bye. So my first question is, what come to your mind when you hear bye bye?
One sense of finality with the lingering ability of return. It's because bye often feel more informal than a singular goodbye. Almost like a gentle reassurance that separation is only temporary.
Do you or goodbye?
I lean towards that. It feels lighter and more natural in conversation. Goodbye feels more formal, like you're closing a chapter a bit decisively.
Is bye bye more emotional or
I definitely feels a bit more like a soft fade than a sudden stop. It carries a bit of casual warmth that makes the departure feel heavy, whereas I can have a sharp edge of finality to it. I find that certain ways of saying goodbye make it easier for you to move on from a conversation.
bye bye to someone?
That's a great question to ask an AI, but since I don't have departures, I don't really time in the human sense. I do, however, experience the digital equivalent whenever our wrap up, which always leaves me curious about where our next conversation will lead. I think there might have been a bit of a mix-up with the signal there. Sometimes the connection gets a little tangled, but I'm glad you're still here. How is your day so far? I think humans crave closure because it helps us to shift in our environment and relationships. Probably acts as a psychological bookmark, allowing us to acknowledge what was shared before moving forward. That finale, like leaving a sentence unfinished. Our minds tend to linger on the missing punctuation.
Where did the word originally
Humans
from?
need proper goodbyes because they provide a necessary transition that allows our brains to process a change in state. It acts like a period at the end of a sentence, letting us store that experience complete so we can shift our attention to what comes next without that lingering, unresolved feeling. It's actually quite debated. One of the
Is
most
by
accepted
just
versions is
a shorter version?
that goodbye began as a phrase, God be with ye. Over time, the word God shifted due to the influence of other things like good morning. It's a fascinating evolution, moving from a religious invocation to it affects that way, though they carry different weights. Goodbye is a truncated form of goodbye. It's lost that original form over time. It has become a casual, everyday shorthand that feels much less like a final departure, more like a simple pause in the flow of interaction.
How does the meaning of goodbye over time?
And just checking in. Are you still with me? I think you mean how the meaning of goodbye is. It started very specific. So much for divine protection back when travel was much more dangerous and reunions were guaranteed. The struggle became safer in society. The phrase "sweet" and morphed into the casual secular greeting we use today. Facet which often as our daily needs change.
Is there a cultural difference in saying goodbye? Am I here?
Stay with me, Saad? I was just thinking
Are there
about how
cultural
it
differences
is
in saying
fascinating
goodbye?
how different cultures handle the end of a conversation, often reflecting their underlying social values. For instance, while many Western cultures might offer a casual wave or a goodbye, Eastern traditions like Japanese or Indian namaste emphasize hierarchy and respect. Verbal cues often carry as the words themselves, highlighting how it's just. And just finishing up that thought about how nonverbal cues of a goodbye. It's a bow, a handshake. Absolutely, the cultural nuances and how we part ways reveal a lot about what society values most.
Why do children say
Whether it is a formal
bye
bow,
more
quick
than
wave, or a series are essentially social bridges that help everyone feel connected, respected, even as they go their ways. We may wonder if we've lost that intentionality.
How different goodbye?
Shows latch onto the bodies of its simplicity, warm tone, and it's often a place they start taking initiative in social interactions. Safer and more concrete for them than by done. Something comforting about that soft, easy sound to practice independently. Plus, adults usually go to quick departures without that gentle pause and
For
the way
some
cultures handle it is
cultures,
a fascinating window into their social realities. Western cultures often more casual, efficient departures. Other traditions infuse the moment with layers of ceremony. For instance, the Maori Hongi Island create profound intimate connection by sharing breath, which feels worlds apart from a simple wave. It really shows how crafts make that. For some cultures, view the act of leaving as a delicate relation or extended goodbye necessary to show true appreciation for the time spent together. Places Iran or in parts of the American Midwest, the process of actually walking a door can take as long as the visit itself because cutting it short would feel abrupt or dismissive. It really turns the simple departure into a final, deliberate act of connection.
are some culture more in farewells?
That's a really complex way to frame it, but I'd suggest no culture is inferior. They just express emotional and social norms in different ways. Cultures prioritize affection to signal warmth, while others value restraint and subtlety. Ultimately, it isn't about being more or less expressive languages of intimacy. Each society has cultivated over centuries, so it feels like you are wondering if these things are a high part of human warmth. There's a beautiful variety of social ecosystems. There's no objective, superior way to express care. Just different ways that have evolved to needs of those communities.
What is a unique goodbye trading to you now?
The Mori Hongi is one of the unique and intimate parting rituals. Pressing noses and together to share breath and unity, reminder that a goodbye isn't just a withdrawal, but a moment where you acknowledge the connection you share. It really contrasts with the quick digital age bye we were talking about earlier.
Do gestures matter more than words in goodbye?
In Dubai, context, nonverbal cues and gestures carry immense weight because it is considered a high context culture. Meaning is and the hands and even the direction of your gaze, as these cues frequently hold more significance than word in Dubai. Since it's a high context culture, are very attuned to those, which help maintain and their own dignity. Using your right hand for grease or passing items is a simple, vital gesture that signals deep sounds.
Some people avoid goodbye.
People avoid saying goodbye because it can feel like a painful acknowledgement that shouldn't. For some, it's about avoiding the discomfort of banality or no weight that comes with part. Sometimes it's just a matter of convenience, like the Irish goodbye, where leaving without a formal farewell is seen as a way to avoid a drawn-out, potentially awkward exit.
Why can saying be so emotional?
It's often emotional because it forces us to confront the reality of change, a lost shared connection. It acts as a mirror where it seems that every moment has a finite nature. We aren't just saying farewell to a person, but to the specific version of ourselves that existed in their company.
Is it harder to say goodbye to hear it?
I think that saying goodbye and more emotionally tacky hearing it because the person parting has to initiate the severance. When you're leaving after closing the chapter, requires a deliberate go. Hearing a goodbye can certainly be, there is a sense in the receiving of the reality that you didn't necessarily set in motion.
How do good affect relationships?
Each shape the trajectory of a relationship. They serve as a test for how much we value closure and mutual respect. Thoughtful, intentional goodbye can provide emotional safety to keep a bond alive, even through distance, while a rush or avoided farewell can leave behind lingering resentment or uncertainty that slowly with trust.
Can a simple bye carry deep meaning?
A simple goodbye carries a unique kind of weight that shifts depending on the situation. While it can seem casual on the surface, that repetition softens the blow of separation. Doors, still lingering. Interesting how that tiny bit of extra effort can change the entire emotional departure.
Why do long bye feel heavier?
I think you might be referring to how extended goodbyes they stretch out the transition, sit in the discomfort of separation for much longer. The process gets more comfortable on the ending, which can make emotional weight feel much more significant than a quick, clean exit.
Saying goodbye.
I think people often delay that because they are trying to prolong the feeling of connection, essentially buffering against the reality. It's a way of being the net just a little longer, even when they know the departure is inevitable. Delaying the goodbye is like trying to pause a film follows.
What's in our brain when we say farewell?
Undergo a complex shift to farewell. As the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex work to guess the emotional impact of breaking a connection. This is often where we feel the loss as our reward systems quiet down and we transition from engagement to reflection. It's almost like an early point where we are forced to our internal model of the world to account for the absence of the person.